It's a super gloomy day here in Connecticut, and we're like 2 weeks into the quarantine that's been going on in the nation. If you like this video, it took me a lot of time to put together, definitely like, subscribe, or share it. And you can find me on Instagram as well at Mia_FitMD. So basically, I decided to sign up as an individual to go to Brazil and try my hand at being an individual competitor. Brazil was absolutely amazing. It was perfect weather, the people were super nice. I met some other great competitors, both from Brazil, Argentina, and of course the US. And I was lucky enough to know other people who were on a team from Invictus who were competing. So I just got done with Lollapalooza about a week and a half before, so it was a fast turnaround. And this is the venue. It looks very much like a regionals type of venue. We got to eat a lot of the local food and walk around. We didn't rent a car, we just basically taxied to different places and got to explore a lot. I got to spend a couple of days after the competition just roaming around, but luckily Brazil loves eating a lot of just fresh meat and vegetables and rice, and that is the perfect CrossFitter's diet. It's the perfect bodybuilder's diet, so there wasn't a ton of variety. But I met my really good friend Danny here at CrossFit 3050. We went to the Nike store and also played around with some other fun clothes there. But I was extremely nervous going into this competition. I think I had a lot of personal doubt just because I've always done team competitions in the past, and I've always thought, well, maybe, I'm the one holding people back on a team because I screwed up, or maybe they've really compensated for me in different ways. But I was more nervous than I thought I would be. I haven't done individual competition since I was younger, doing ice skating and gymnastics and ballet, which is somewhat of a competition, but I wasn't honestly very excited. I was petrified, and the hotel we were staying at, I would see a lot of the other female competitors come down for breakfast, and I was super intimidated. I'm around a lot of fit people, but some of these girls, they were big. They were very muscular, very lean, and I'm not saying that I'm not, but it's just I know that it's just me against them, and that was really hard for me the first day going into it. Luckily the first event was an endurance event, so there wasn't a lot of strategy. There wasn't a ton of technique involved. It was just kind of going. But this was the venue on the track right outside the venue that I showed before, and I was in the second heat going into the competition. I barely qualified for the BCC. I was probably 27th out of 30. So I don't really know how they split up the heats. So the first event was 5 rounds, 800 meters on the C2 bike, 400 meter run, all of it with a weight vest. I don't have access to a C2 bike at home, so that was a new experience. But this was the first round, and you can see the girls in front of me here, they weren't the same girls who were in front of me at the end, and everyone kind of went off pretty fast. But the C2 bike really gave your quads a pump, and the run actually felt really good for me. It was allowing that blood flow to just renormalize in my legs. And this is us coming back You can see caroling along. She's always right behind me. She's the one on the bike, my far left. And so I just tried to keep pace with her a lot of times. This girl in the all white, she was a very good competitor. She was one of those bigger people who I was pretty intimidated by. But here's us coming back after round 2. After round 2, I was around pretty much the same girls that I was with for the rest of the event, and it stayed pretty consistent. After round 2, I feel like all the people who ran super fast at the beginning kind of got tired by that point. Round 3 here, I almost tried to take out this girl, Anita. She's from Brazil, but I tried to stay after her, and then you can see here at the end of this round, caroling along, she's right after me again, getting on her bike. So 5 rounds was a lot. By round 4, I was pretty much ready to be done. It was hot there. It wasn't super hot. It wasn't super humid, but it was definitely hotter than my normal training conditions. And so yeah, this was after round 4, and then round 5, like I said, I was really ready to be done. And so, but you can see here with the cones, that's how they were tracking us. And this event had a 21-minute time cap, so it was a bit of a long workout. Okay, so this was the very last round, and Carolina, she's like right behind me, sprinting right behind me, but I could hear her, so I put out and sprinted this very last bit so she wouldn't get ahead of me. She really made up a lot of ground on this last round, but it just wasn't enough. So the time caps on all these events were pretty spot on. If you were under the time cap, that was pretty good. Like, they were very challenging time caps when I practiced them. But yeah, so here I knew that I drank a ton of Gatorade before this, and that really helped me. I knew that these long endurance events, all legs basically, I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to cramp. That would have really been bad for this event since it was so leg intensive. And so here you can see my friend Danny. She's finishing up. But yeah, that was a really tough first workout. I think it drained a lot of people's legs. So event 2, 25 strict handstand push-ups, 25 bar muscle-ups, and then 75 double unders and 10 alternating dumbbell snatches that were pretty heavy at 70 pounds. One thing that was surprising with these handstand push-ups is they somewhat changed the standard. They want our fingers to be inside the box instead of the normal just like palms in the box. And you can see here later on that the other girls around me, they were getting a lot of no reps, and I was lucky enough to get kind of that information and really try not to get no reps. I did get a couple of no reps, but that was my biggest thing, was to avoid wasting that energy. So I was on the bar muscle ups. There were girls before me in different heats that went much faster than myself, even though these girls look like they were behind me. There were some girls I saw, they finished the 25 bar muscle ups like in 2 minutes. It was so fast. But you can see here I'm finishing up, and this whole workout, the time cap was 15 minutes. When I practiced it on my own with, ideal conditions, I finished it in 14, so I knew I didn't have a lot of room. Double unders, of course, I screwed up at the beginning, but my rope fixed itself and I got into it. But the thing that I really was frustrated with in this workout was my judge. So you can see here he has his hand down and he has his fingers out, but like they're not going down. Like, I don't really know where I am. I was definitely trying to count, but I kept coming up short with how many double unders I was supposed to be on. And so you can see he has his arm down here, and then he'll move it up, but like the fingers, like here you go. So he moves them up and I don't, like, the fingers don't move. I'm like, what number? Does that mean I have 5 left? Does that mean I have 15 left? Like, it was very frustrating with the double unders because there were so many double unders. But obviously here there were only 10 dumbbell snatches, so it wasn't that hard to figure out where I was. But this again was 5 rounds, and again by like round 4 I was like, this needs to be over with. But I really just tried to stay on the dumbbell because it was so heavy. And so you can see here I'm moving my dumbbell for the last round, but I think I have 30 seconds left here. So I tried to do double unders like back there to save some time, but my judge caught me and he made me move forward. But you know, here I really tried to double under till the very, very last second. So but again here, like with the, like I have no, like what do these mean? Like I was on like 30 something, and this was the only time he was like actually using his fingers. So by the end of day 1 I was technically 4th but 5th, and that's because I had a 3rd place finish on event 1 and a 10th place finish on event 2. So I was sitting top 5, and it was a lot of pressure after my friends at home saw where I was. So day 2, event 3, 4 rope climbs with a short rope, 16 thrusters at 110, 3 rope climbs, 12 thrusters, 2 rope climbs, 8 thrusters with a cap of 7 minutes. So I wore lifters on this one, which probably wasn't the best idea because I quickly found out that I was having a hard time gripping the rope. I could grip the rope back in the warm-up area, but for some reason I just like wasn't doing a good job of gripping the rope here. So again, I was doing the heavy thrusters, and this was somewhat of a short workout. Like I said, the time cap was 7 minutes, so I knew that like it was gonna hurt, but it was gonna be worth it. And so here on my right, this girl's name was Amelia. Her nickname was actually Mia, so it was really great because we had like double the cheering and we were next to each other for the first 2 days. But she was awesome. And then again, there's Carolina Long. She's on my left, or on the right of the screen, and she's always just like right behind me, pushing me. And by this point, my forearms were just like burning, and luckily I went over how to kind of fire pull down the rope. That was something that is kind of a special skill, to just kind of trust yourself and drop. And my former teammate Tim, he really helped me right before I left because I've never done that before, but it saves so much time when you can just like drop down on the rope instead of using that eccentric load coming down the rope. So here, this was my very last round, and if you listen closely to the volume here, you can hear my friend Tammy, who was on the Invictus team watching. She was killing it with the yelling. She's such a CrossFit stage mom. But yeah, this last one I knew I had to go, but it was so hard to go unbroken on these last couple of thrusters. But I knew I was ahead of Carolina, so I just tried to stay super steady for this whole time. And each one was such a fight. Like I said, my forearms were so dead. So this event, worst event for me, it was every 2 minutes on the minute, 16 cal row, and 2 sandbag cleans at 135, and then it increased by 2 every 2 minutes, and you also had to move the sandbag forward. So really, it's somewhat of an extra rep because you're still like having to put the sandbag up. And this was by far my worst workout. Like, I knew this was gonna be bad. You can see Amelia here on the left. She did really well, just being so efficient with those sandbags. And the standard for these are very difficult because you have to open your knees, your hips, and it has to go over your shoulder. Like, you have to stand it up. You can't have the bag go off the side. So you had to move it and then run to the very end, like here, within the time cap. And they made this event for 12 cleans. No one made it past 6. So I don't think this was the best programmed event. If you got to 6, you were probably in the top 10. And Amelia here on my right, or on the screen's left, she did make it. And I believe I get no repped on this next one. And that just, like, you can't have any no reps. Or maybe I get no repped here. Because it's just, yep, there's a no rep. You just can't have that extra time. And this is where I was kind of like, I tried, I got that last rep, but me and Carolina just did not make it. So that was by far my worst event. Something like 22nd or something on that one. So this was my favorite event. The triple ground to overhead ladder, 3 reps each time. They were in kilos, so the pounds, that's why they look a little off. But on my left, if you're like competing, or on the right side of the screen, she was the Mexican national champion, and she ended up earning her ticket to the games. And but she moved her way up during this day. So this is 145 pounds. I really should have cycled the barbell more. I kept bringing it down to my shoulders, and that was a costly thing, but a good learning point for future barbell cycling events. So I did 135, 145 straight through. By the time I got to 155, I knew I had to do singles, but I really tried to focus on leading the bar down so it wasn't bouncing everywhere. And yeah, she was pushing it, but I knew you don't want to fail one of these reps because it's a lot of energy wasted if you do. This is 165, and the time cap for this one is 3 minutes, so you don't have a long time, but it was a super fun event to watch and to do. It was perfect. I don't think anyone snatched these weights. I think most people just stuck to cleans, whether it be power cleans or squat cleans. But here, this is about 175 pounds, and this is where it was like, okay, this is kind of heavy. So I took a little chalk break, which probably shouldn't have done, but. And then, so she gets over the line. I'm next, but one more rep here. And Amelia, she's on my right. She's at the 165 bar. And then I finally get 175. So that was my favorite event. I think I got like 6th on that event. So event 7, this was the last day going in. I was 6th overall at this point, but this 975 ring muscle ups and snatches at about 85 pounds with handstand walking in between. Here I'm back with Anita Pravati. She's on my right or your left. She was right before me in the run. She's from Brazil, she's really good. And then Megan McCuffey, she's from the US. But, my muscle ups, if you guys follow me on Instagram, is something that I am always working on. Ring muscle ups especially. For some reason, my ring muscle ups just haven't progressed. as much as my bar muscle ups, and my forearms were still, they weren't even sore at this point, but I feel like they could reach failure pretty easily. And with this, I knew with the handstand walk, I didn't want to fail any portion of it because that would have been a very costly no rep. Luckily, there wasn't an obstacle course because then this event would have gone very differently if that were the case. But so here's the handstand walk, making sure you go over the line. And looking back, I wish I did more touch and goes with the snatches. I'm definitely strong enough. I just was pretty cautious because I didn't want to do something stupid or fail something. And there's just so much bouncing here. But so Anita's a little bit ahead of me here. And we're actually all at the same spot right now, about to go into the handstand walk. I think I get no reps here. Yeah, because I always do that. I like put one hand in front of the line. So it wasn't a super costly no rep, but I mean it all adds up. And so I'm coming here. This is back to go back for the 7 muscle ups. So here we go. And again, those mats, they were so squishy. There was like almost no point in having them because they were like quicksand. And I am glad I just jumped up. Like I could see Anita was climbing up, and it's just like a different way of getting up. It like just kind of changes the pattern of how you swing into it. So but here, this is the last round, I think, just for the 5 muscle ups. And by this point, it wasn't a ton of muscle ups, but mine are just such a work in progress that I could tell I was like kind of done with it. And this is my very last rep. Like watching these are so hard because you're like, why are you not going any faster? But I was really just trying to make sure my arms locked out all the way, that I straightened my elbows, because I know I sometimes don't do that in training, so I wanted to make sure I did it perfect here. And maybe this is the 7 because at this point Anita's still ahead of me. But so again, I wish I was a faster handstand walker, but yeah, there we go. That was luckily my wrist wasn't hurting a ton, and these were very light snatches. So I could go pretty narrow, and it definitely didn't bother me here, but I do remember the next 2 days I was not feeling 100% with my wrist. But I'm almost done here. And then, yeah, I fast forwarded to the very last round. And somehow I got ahead of Anita at this point. I don't really know. I must have been on the walk or something, or I think it was on the muscle ups, ironically enough. But by this point, I'm like barely swinging. I don't know why I do that, but I just have a hard time like continuing to stay in that really good gymnastics hollow rock. But these straps were a bit longer than normal. But I'm starting to do my little chicken wing thing, so I know that I was getting tired. And here I just knew, like, very last handstand walk, like, don't fuck this up. You just have to, like, keep going. And here I, like, felt my body just, like, here. I was just so close to, oh, and then, like, he got, like, right in front of me. But it all turned out okay. And here, I'm almost done. These are the last 5 snatches. And again here, watching back, I wish I went a bit faster because it's so hard to realize that you're not competing against the girls next to you. So I was the last one off the bike here, and that even though I was lunging really quickly, like it was not good enough because I knew at that point that I was eliminated. But my goal, honestly, for this competition was to not be in last. Like, that was how much I was doubting myself, and it's really crazy to look back and know that I obviously wasn't going to be last, but that was what was going on in my mind, because I was the last person in the open to qualify, like, because this was through the open. And then a couple people rejected their invite, so then a couple people got invited. So I mean, I was like second or third to last. Going in and starting out so strongly with a third place finish just like was like crazy to me. But it definitely taught me to be just more confident in myself. And now, fortunately or unfortunately, I do want to do more individual competitions. It's so hard if you love CrossFit to just be like, I want to be done at some point, or to really know when to stop. And I've always been a team athlete, and I've always had to be in locations to be with a good team. And in a sense, if I want to do individual, that's good for me, because now I don't have to be restricted to where I'm going with the team or practicing with a team. And luckily, with all the sanctional changes, potentially I can continue to do team competitions with a team without physically being around them. And luckily, I've built a good network of people in Rhode Island and California, and hopefully I can continue to do team. But this competition, just one, I wanted to do Brazil again, but I also want to see what other individual competitions are like and really push myself. But oddly enough, when we were in the airport coming back, that was when Trump did the travel ban for America and Europe. And so now we're in this coronavirus situation. But honestly, I was so lucky to have been able to compete in Brazil, because I honestly think it might be the last sanctional for the year, and at this point they're considering canceling the games. So I don't know how that worked out for me, but it did. My friends who went to the Atlas games the next week, they got there and then it got canceled, and there's a lot of money wasted, a lot of training time wasted, and it just sucks. But you know, there are people dying right now in the pandemic, and you can't think about how important CrossFit is when there are healthcare workers and people putting their lives on the line to save other people's lives. And so again, like, I just had a really fun time with this competition. I totally recommend it if you guys are thinking about doing Brazil. Again, if you guys like this video, please remember to subscribe and follow me on Instagram if you choose to. But you probably found this because of my Instagram, honestly, because I don't have any YouTube subscribers. But yeah, like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram.